Hello and welcome back to the 2019 Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship, fueled of course by Petron. As always, my name is Aaron Thompson and I'm coming to you now for race 31 of the season, but before then, a quick walk down the pit lane.
Hello, my name is Muzaffar. This is race 31 and don't forget to watch us live in Facebook. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Muiz. Now up to race control to watch the start of the race. Let's have a quick rundown. The starting order. We have Sneha Sharma on pole position, followed by John Dizin, Nico Pino, Sohail Shah, Federico Peters, Muiz Muzaffar, Luke Allen, Elias Panin. So as you can see, everybody coming into their grid boxes just now. Just for your information, ladies and gentlemen, it is quite damp out there, so you may see a little bit of wheel spin getting away from the start. May make things very interesting indeed coming down into turn one. Of course, you can see the marshal on the right-hand side of your screens as he reaches the left-hand side of the track. The red lights will come on at the front of the grid, and as they extinguish, we will be underway. And you can see that Sneha Sharma has gotten a good start. He seems to get away without any trouble. And Federico Peters looks like he's going to go up the outside of 78. That is Nico Pino, and that's Sohail Shah cutting them all off down the main straight. And Nico Pino forced to brake to avoid any collision. Elias Panin on the other side of the track being blocked out by Muiz Muzaffar once again. Luke Allen has a fantastic start up into what looks to be third position, but Sohail Shah is the man out on top into second position at the second corner. Fantastic driving from the Indian there as they come around the corner now up into turn 3 and then up the hill into turn 4. Fantastic drive from everyone so far to get away in these conditions, and in fact it's the first standing start for several of these drivers, as yesterday we had a problem with the lights and we had to do a rolling start first for the championship. As we come around turn 4 now, looks like Sohail's going up the inside of Sneha Sharma. Sneha comes across and they both get through with no worries, and it seems as if Sneha may be able to maintain that position in a pink car just behind them, which may be John Dizin or Muiz Muzaffar if he's had a better start than I thought. Might be trying to make a move. Yes, indeed, it's Muiz Muzaffar up into third position, ladies and gentlemen, and Sohail Shah up the inside of turn 6. We saw things go wrong for Luke Allen when he tried that last event, and everybody's going every which way, and it looks like we're going to be 4 wide coming into turn 7. 4 wide coming into turn 7, That is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen, as Luke Allen and Elias Panin decided to back off at the last minute, but we were very nearly 4 wide through turn 7 and 8, and that would have been absolutely amazing. But at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, you have a new Indian driver leading the race. That's Sohail Shah in his orange number 24, followed very closely by Muiz Muzaffar in the pink number 13, then Luke Allen, then Elias Panin. Further down the order, we've got John T. Dizin as well, and Nico Pino suffering at the start when he had to take avoiding action as he was squeezed out by, if I remember correctly, Luke Allen, and the man at the front of the pack now, Sohail Shah. Elias Panin, though, he's got the blue number 3 car of Luke Allen in his sights. He's going to have to try matching him down as the cars go very, very wide over the rumble strip at turn 12. Muiz Muzaffar leading Luke Allen offline, but as we said, it is quite damp out on track, and of course we're still on slicks though. As we come down the back straight now, let's see if Luke can get a bit of an advantage in the slipstream and try and make a move up into turn 15. He's close enough to have a dive if he's brave enough to do so. Further down the order though, you can see the battle between 96, 57 and 78. That's John Dizin, Federico Peters and Nico Pino fighting for position as well. As they come around turn 15 in front of the Petron livery now, you can see that Luke Allen still holding on to his third position as Elias Panin tries to catch in to the men in front of him. For your information, Sohail Shah is going fastest in the first and third sectors before Elias Panin goes faster in the second and fourth sector. So interesting turn of events there on the first lap as Luke Allen tries to go around the outside. Muiz Muzaffar at the first corner. Doesn't look like he's going to carry enough speed through that sector as presumably Sohail Shah spins off. That's terrible news. That's terrible news for Sohail. Looks like he's locked up under braking at turn 1, and he must be in the gravel somewhere on the outside of turn 1. Perhaps if we can pan down from this angle, we may be able to see what happened to him. But back to the front of the grid, we've got Muiz Muzaffar now at the front of the grid in the pink number 13 car, just ahead of Luke Allen and Elias Panin. So everything's changed here, ladies and gentlemen, in the Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship. Second lap of the race, we've had a massive change in the race standings as Muiz Muzaffar now leads the championship contenders around turn 5. This is the first time the pink car has been at the front of the race this weekend so far, but he may be able to hold on to his position, and it seems to me as if he's going well. He did a 29.365 in the first sector. That's 2/10 slower than Elias Panin. Elias really finding time here this weekend at Sepang International Circuit. Fantastic to watch the timing screens, in fact, because Muiz Muzaffar goes fastest in the sector, and is then milliseconds later beaten by Luke Allen, and then milliseconds later Elias Panin puts in a faster time as well. So in the second sector we've got a 29.752 from Muiz, a 29.883 from Luke, and a 29.631 from Elias. So very closely matched indeed, but Elias is definitely the faster of the three and is going to be catching right up to Luke Allen very soon. He's already gained about 0.2 of a second this lap. As they come around turn 11 now, you can see the gap between the three cars almost equidistant as the pink number 13 leads us down through turn 12. We saw them go very wide indeed here at the last on the last lap, but nobody seems to suffer from that problem this time around. Perhaps the cars themselves drying up the track as we continue around turn 14 now, and hopefully perhaps we'll have a quick replay to see what happens with Sohail Shah at turn 1, but that might have been off camera, so we may not get a chance to do so. As we come down the back straight now, Muiz Mustafa still leading the procession. You got the pink, blue, and red cars of Muiz Mustafa, Luke Allen, and Elias Sapanen. Is anybody close enough to make a move? No, maybe not. They're going to hold into the slipstream, but Elias seems to break a little bit earlier than everyone else coming down into that turn 15. As we're going to go 3 wide now through turn 15. If we can focus in on this angle and see what happens at the further back battle between the three cars that are going 3 wide at turn 15. Let's see what happens at the top of your screens, ladies and gentlemen, and see if any position has changed. Perhaps not, but you can see that pack is really bunched up very tightly indeed, and it appears to be Sohail Shah on the left-hand side of the screens trying to make a move up on, I can't quite make out who, but let's look back to the front of the grid now where the battle for first position is still raging, with Luke Allen trying everything to get past Muiz Mustafa. Let's have a look at the sector times. Elias fastest in the first, second and fourth sectors, Muiz fastest in the third sector. So what does that mean for the overall times? Muiz doing a 2:15.5, Luca doing a 2:15.5, Elias doing a 2:15.195, so he's closing in by 0.4 of a second every lap, but now he's right up behind Luke Allen. The gap between Muiz and Luca, 0.2 of a second at the start finish straight, and the gap between Elias and Luke Allen, that would be the cumulative gap. The gap between the second and third place drivers is also about 0.4 of a second, at least at the start of the lap. Definitely seems to be less than that now to be, ladies and gentlemen. As we come around turn 15 now, with Luca drifting in ever so nicely as we now switch back to the right-handed corner 6. This is exactly what makes the Japan such a fantastic track to look at, and it looks like Luca got a little bit of a bad exit coming out of turn 6, as Elias did seem to close in significantly on the exit of that corner as they went over the rumble strip. And you can see now as well Elias in position to try and make a move as Luca goes very wide indeed on the exit of turn 8. Down into turn 9, anybody close enough to make a move? For some reason, ladies and gentlemen, turn 9 has been the most popular place to overtake this weekend. We've seen it time and time again already in the first 2 races on Saturday, and we may well see it again today. But you can see Muiz stretching his legs now at the front of the grid because Luke Allen has to try and focus on protecting himself from the man behind him, Elias Sapanen. That's reflected in the sector times as they all go about equal in the first sector, and Muiz Mustafa 1:10 faster than anybody else in the second sector. You can see that really reflected. The gap between first and second is extending, and Elias Sapanen maintaining his gap to the man in front. Once he gives a big lock up, big lock up there from Elias Sapanen down into turn 14, just after turn 13 at the breaking point. On the back straight now, let's see if Elias can recover from that. That's definitely going to hurt him. It's going to give Luca a little bit of breathing room and perhaps even a little bit of confidence to see your opponent behind you in your mirrors making a mistake, as Muiz Mustafa goes fastest once again in the third sector, this time by 1/10 of a second, or almost 2/10 of a second. As they come around turn 15 now, Luke Allen, the blue number 3 car, still in second position, fighting for his life against the fiery Finn. That is Elias Sapanen, the red number 58, just behind him. They cross the start finish line now. Let's have a look at the lap time. Muiz Mustafa, first man into the 2:14s, doing 2:14.943. You've got to take into account as well, ladies and gentlemen, the track is wet. In fact, if I understand correctly from race controllers, we declared a wet race. So it's wet enough that some people may be going out on slicks, but not in the F4 cars. It's wet enough that some people might be out on rain tires, but in the F4 cars, we're on slicks because they can't. These conditions aren't bad enough to warrant the wetter option. As we continue around turn 1 now, there's a battle here between Sneha Sharma and John Dizon, 96 and 9. They're similar colored cars, but in fact the 96 car is pink and the purple car of Sneha Sharma is just behind him. As once again Elias Sapanen goes fastest in the first sector, this time by 0.2 of a second. So he's lost a little bit of time because of that lock up on the last lap, but he's gaining it all back now on the sizzling Irishman. He's right up in his mirrors once again. As we come through turn 5, is anyone close enough to make anything happen? Not quite, because if you're going to make a move at turn 5, really it's a move that you started to make at turn 4, and you're just sealing the deal through the faster sector for the fast 2 corners, or the fast 4 corners, following the hard braking uphill right-hander of turn 4. Down into turn 7 now, straight into turn 8, really one gigantic corner, that sector of the track. Now there's a nice long stretch for you to really put your foot down to the floor, with a hard braking point at approximately 70 meters or 60 meters into turn 9, which is now an uphill sector, and then the slight, or the banking corner of turn 10, I should say, down into turn 11, that starts to go downhill into turn 12, and then switch back to turn 13, then 14 as well, back up to the back straight. So for your information, ladies and gentlemen, Muiz Mustafa doing a 29.559. That's about 1/10 of a second faster than the other two. Going fastest in the third sector as well, 38.896. That's significantly faster, about 0.2 of a second faster than anybody else on track. So Maurice Mustafa is really getting a chance now to put his foot down to the floor, and that's exactly what the home crowd wants to see. The Malaysian rocket at the front of the grid in his pink number 13 car. Lap 3 here, ladies and gentlemen. In just a few moments when we round turn 15, we'll be on to lap 4, and that means there's about another 4 or 5 laps left in this race as Elias Sapanin has a little bit of a look as Lucas seems to go a little bit squirrely on his braking into turn 15. Round the corner with no significant incidents though, and you can see the gap between these top 3 drivers and the rest of the grid is significant. Of course, Maurice leading the charge again with the fastest lap of the race, but the other 2 drivers, Luke Allen and Elias Sapanin, following closely behind, both in the 2:14s. For your information, this lap, Luca was actually slightly faster for Elias Sapanin with a 2:14.792. That's about a tenth faster than the man behind him, or even less than that, about 0.6 of a second. Let's have a quick look at the replay of the start of the race. Now you can see Frederico Peters seems to have a good start to try going around the outside of Nico Pino on the left-hand side of the track. Maurice Mustafa covering himself from Elias Sapanin as the orange number 24 of Sohail Shah goes right across to the inside of the track, forces Nico back out as Frederico Peters and Luke Allen squeeze him into with no place to remain, and Maurice Mustafa goes all the way around the outside of John T. Dizin and up the inside at turn 2 into 3rd position, following Sohail Shah, who had a fantastic start to gain 2nd position at the start. Back to the front of the action now, though. Maurice Mustafa in the pink number 13 car, coming around turn 6. But let's have a quick look down the order and see what happened to Sohail Shah. He's back in position 6, so he was leading the race briefly at the. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. He had a fantastic start, led the race for 1 lap, and then unfortunately at turn 1 seemed to lock up and go very wide indeed. And Maurice Mustafa, Luke Allen, and Elias Sapanin all took advantage, and that unfortunately relegated Sohail back into position 6, which is coming around turn 9 now, up into turn 10. Is anybody close enough to make a move? Not quite. Let's have a look at the sector times. Elias Sapanin now fastest in the first sector, so as Elias catches up to Luke Allen, has no space left to maneuver. That's slowing him down and allowing Maurice Mustafa to really stretch his legs at the front of the grid. But when Elias gets a little bit of free air, he can really put down the fastest lap sectors. He's in fact 0.2 faster than the man at the front of the grid in the first sector. And actually, interestingly enough, Luke Allen and Elias Sapanin matching their times in the second sector, and Maurice a little bit faster, so you can tell already Elias just catches right back up to Luca, then has nowhere to go, can't find a way past the sizzling Irishman, and that allows Maurice Mustafa to really put his foot down and try and build his lead, but he hasn't managed to get much of a lead at the moment because he's still only 0.5 of a second ahead of Luke Allen. So the battle is still raging, and I'm sure it will rage until the end of the race. As everyone knows by now, these races are about 20 minutes long, which is really I think perhaps the best way to go, because it's a straight sprint to the finish. There's none of this waiting on tire temperatures or pit stops. It's just racing action. It's fantastic to watch. As we come down the main straight now, you can see the battle for first position still racing strong. The battle for 4th position behind that still strong as well. The 4th position driver is Frederico Peters, ahead of Nico Pino and Sohail Shah. These 3 drivers have been battling all weekend, and I'm sure they're going to be continuing to do so into tonight's race as well, or this evening's race, I should say, which is at 1:40 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, 1:40 the next race. The time of the next race start. Let's have a look at the comparison though between Maurice Mustafa and Luke Allen. Well, look at that. Look how close they are. But then in lap 3, Luke drops back about 0.2 of a second. That's interesting. As you can see though, back to the front of the grid now. Luke is close enough to try and make a move on the inside of turn 4 on Maurice Mustafa, but wisely perhaps decides against it, as Elias Sapanin has been known to undercut drivers who try moves like that. He did so yesterday to gain first position at corner 9. Fantastic drive from him. Maurice Mustafa, though, maintaining his position, is pink number 13, the Malaysian rocket, leading us around turn 6 now, down into turn 7. Of course, as you can see, he's not able to pull away from Luke Allen, but Luca also not able to catch up to the man in front of him. Maurice Mustafa doing fastest second sector now, ladies and gentlemen, 29.482. The gap between first and second, 0.3 of a second, or 3.5 of a second as they cross the start-finish line, and come around turn 9, up into the right-handed turn 10. Fantastic drive so far from Maurice Mustafa, and really, you can't say anything he's done wrong. Let's have a quick look at the replay of some action though. This seems to be a replay of the overtake perhaps. Oh, this is what happened on the second lap, if I'm not mistaken, with Maurice Mustafa going very wide, following Luke Allen following him off track at turn 13, that would be. But as we heard from race control at the beginning of the race, it is quite damp out there in these conditions, so it's understandable there with Maurice not quite able to keep it on track. Of course, Luke Allen as well following behind him. You can see here, this is what happened with Elias Sapanin last lap. He hit, but he's back in position now for Luke Allen, and Luca really running him all the way around. And Elias is going to go on the outside at turn 15. That may well be the better line in these conditions because it's an off-camber corner. but Elias not quite managed to make it stick, at least that time. Now you can see the gap already between Moise Mustafa and Luke Allen is really widening, because Lucas just got to drive so defensively, and that's scrubbing all of his time. But Elias Spanin seems to have gotten a much better exit coming out of turn 15, and definitely got some slipstream before he dived out the outside. At turn 1, Luke Allen, what's going to happen here? Are they going to come to blows? No, not quite. This looks like Elias is going to hold his line very nicely indeed. Look how close they were. In fact, Elias' wheels are inside of Lucas' wheels at that corner, and Elias goes wide at... it's not fair to say he went wide. He went a little bit off onto the rumble strip, and it seems like the rumble strip has caused some damage to the front left of his wing, or perhaps the front right as well. Perhaps it was hit up on the left-hand side, and that caused the right-hand side to bounce off the track. Couldn't quite make out exactly what happened. Hopefully we'll have a quick replay in a few moments' time. So that is terrible news for Elias Spanin. He had been right up behind Luke Allen, definitely had the pace to try and make something happen. Let's have a look at the replay. Don't seem to be any contact here. You can see they both managed to give each other room. Both drivers driving very well indeed. Down to turn 2, Elias has a look up the inside. He's going to have a dive here, but he goes right over the rumble strip, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. You can't make it out from this angle. There may have been some contact with Luca's rear left tire, or it may just have been the rumble strip and going off track that caused that damage. But Luca Allen has to be careful as well, because he's going very wide indeed at turn 9 just there. And I saw something that looks like a front end plate that may have come off of Elias Spanin's car. They may have to consider something to do about his front wing, because that's quite dangerous. That looks like it may fall off at this point. But until we hear something from race control, we're continuing racing with Elias Spanin in 3rd position. Let's have a look at his sector times. He's doing a 30 dead and a 30.1 in the first 2 sectors, and 39.891. So somehow, ladies and gentlemen, without a front wing, Elias Spanin on pace in the 3rd sector. That's fantastic, because you've got some fast corners there as well. So side by side now with Luke Allen coming down the main straight. Here we go, fantastic from Elias Spanin, not giving up at all. He's going to go all the way around the outside at turn 15. There may be a little bit of damage to Luke Allen's car. That may indicate something that there was some collision at turn 1, because he seems to have been a little bit squirrely on the braking into that corner. And obviously somehow Elias Spanin now up into 2nd position, gaining 1 point on his championship rival Luke Allen. Elias Spanin now up into position, and he's going to have to try and look for Moise Mustafa, but I don't know what he's going to do with the front wing in that position as we come around turn 1 now with Elias down on the inside. Fantastic drive from Elias, started from the back of the grid, of course, by virtue of reverse finishing positions from race 2 yesterday morning. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, in the next race 4, the final race of the weekend, 32nd race in the year, there will be based off the qualifying positions from the 2nd fastest lap. But let's have a look here at the replay. What happened? It looked like there was something actually on track already. That's definitely a front end plate. It seemed to come off of Luca's car. And perhaps the front end plate was lodged on Luca's car after the collision between himself and Elias Spanin. That may have caused some substantial damage to his vehicle, but we'll find out after the race. And of course, if you follow us on social media, I'm sure we'll keep you up to date about all of that. As this is fantastic news really from Malaysia and the Malaysian rocket, Moise Mustafa in the pink number 13 car, coming around what would seem to be turn 7 and 8 now, and he's already gaining a substantial lead. He's 3 seconds now ahead of Elias Spanin. So that's motor racing for you folks in one lap. Everything can change in lap 7 now, which indicates there's only going to be 2 laps left at the absolute most, as Nico Pino in the red number 78 car manages to get beached at one corner. I can't quite make out. That's turn 15, folks. That's turn 15 there, and but that doesn't phase Moise Mustafa's drive, who's driven very well indeed. Managed to get up into 2nd or 3rd position at the first corner, and really he took it there. Let's have a quick look at the replay action here between Elias Spanin and Luke Allen. Elias Spanin, the red number 58 on the left-hand side of your screen. Luke Allen, you can see he's a little bit squirrely, and coming down into turn 15, look at that, his car's just shaking a little bit, and Elias just says thank you very much, closes the door, walks away with 2nd position. Back to the front of the grid now, though. You're going to pay some love to the man at the front of the grid who has led from the 2nd lap of the race, or the first corner at the 2nd lap of the race, if I'm not mistaken, as Luke Allen seems to come into, yes indeed, there was contact between Luke Allen and Elias Spanin. You can see his rear left tire is completely destroyed and running off. There was some contact between himself and Elias Spanin. It was difficult to make out from the angle we had, but that's terrible news for the sizzling Irishman, who hasn't had the best weekend so far, and this is of course going to be a terrible blow for him, but nothing to be done about it. And we continue racing here at the Sepang International Circuit with Moise Mustafa, the Malaysian rocket, at the front of the grid. I'm sure quite happy with himself, satisfied with his drive, as he should be. He's really done Malaysia proud in this race, the 32nd race of the 40 Race Championship. As you can see there, the driver exiting his vehicle, that's his father there consoling him. And I'm sure it's a terrible blow for the family, but that's racing, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't always go your way, but when it does, it's the best feeling in the world. Back to the front of the grid now, though, with Moise Mustafa in the pink number 13 car. You can see briefly there the extraction vehicle obviously coming to rescue Nico Pino's red number 78 car, I should say, as Moise on his final lap now, bringing us around turn 8, down the back, I suppose you can call it part of the back straight, really. It runs parallel to the back straight and comes down into turn 9. It's about half the distance, though. In the background, briefly, we saw there Elias Panin with his front wing still clinging to life. The fantastic, really, Elias Panin, the man of the match there. He held himself in a 3rd position and then lost his wing and somehow managed to come back from that. But we should point out, of course, that collision between himself and Luke Allen at turn 1 did eventually retire the Sicilian Irishman with a rear left puncture. Unfortunate that it had to end that way. I'm sure that's not the way that Elias wanted it, but still, at the end of the day, it's a 2nd position. That's a few more points for himself in the championship, and he definitely needs it, because if I understand correctly, Luke is still just slightly atop the rest of the drivers in the championship standings. As you can see there, though, all of the mechanics have their hands out, congratulating all of their drivers, urging them on for one final push to the start-finish line. And really, as we said, Moise Mustafa driving flawlessly this session, and is now going to take the checkered flag for Malaysia once again. Fantastic drive for him, fantastic thing to see for the home crowds and everyone watching at home, as the pink number 13 car driven by the Malaysian rocket crosses the start-finish line in the 1st position, followed closely behind by Elias Panin and Sohail Shah, who managed to fight his way back up after an upsetting lock-up, I believe, at turn 1 to finish in 3rd position.
It was amazing. First win of the season. It was great. I had a really great start. So from after that, I just keep pushing. I don't care anything. So I just looking forward, and then still managed to pull a grab. Good gap.
Race 3 was good too. This time I started pole. It was a standing start. I had a good start. I was in the lead for about a lap, and then about a run 5th for most of the race, following which I had a top 6 finish, my best till date. So I'm quite excited for the next races.
So the start was again quite poor for me, so I lost a few positions in the beginning. Then the next laps I was making back those positions, and in those overtakes I had quite a big lockup, which gave me a huge flat spot, and that really slowed me down for the rest of the race.
Race 3 was a strong start again. I started P4 again, and again by Con 4 I was in P1. But I was building a bit of a gap entering lap 2, but then made a mistake, spun on my own, and then I dropped down all the way back to last, and then fought my way up to 4th. And then unfortunate for Luca that he got a puncture, but that bumped me up into 3rd, and then I think one of the drivers ahead got a penalty, which then ended me in 2nd.
I think I did the fast stuff in that race too. I got up the places because he was reverse screwed really fast again, but then we had a contact in turn 2, I think, and that was a little bit strange to get disqualification from that, because usually it even shouldn't be penalty, but that's what it is, and we move on.
Race 3, obviously a reverse grid race. Made my way up to P2, and then as I said, to turn 2, hit in the back, and then obviously forced into retirement. So that wasn't a nice way to end the race, but I mean, I suppose these things happen, and I think the penalties given were deserved, and we can move on now.
really, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the race is over. So for me, Aaron Thompson, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.